morning to all media personnel, and good morning to the people of Puerto Rico and to everybody that is watching. Again, we're here to update you on the current situation that's occurring in Puerto Rico, the priorities, the objectives, the results, and the expectations moving forward. Of course, this is a united collaboration. We're working together with FEMA, the different federal agencies. We're working with the DOD extensively, and National Guard and our government and the municipalities to make sure that we can get results for the people of Puerto Rico. I would like to reiterate that our priorities are still to sustain and maintain lives, making sure that water and food get to the different areas in Puerto Rico, distribution of fuel, maintenance of hospitals and operations of hospitals, elevating and restoring telecoms in Puerto Rico, elevating and restoring water and sewers, and start the restoration process of the energy grid as well in Puerto Rico. Would like to remind everybody that whoever wants to donate to this effort, you can go to unitedforpuertorico.com or unidosporpuertorico.com. And we also have different mechanisms such as paypal.me/United for Puerto Rico. And our phone number hotline, it's 202-800-3134. I would like to make a couple of announcements. Number one, I have submitted a petition so that FNS so that we can request a waiver for FNS, so that some of the food stamps and the monies provided to the most vulnerable population could be used for purchasing in fast foods and establishments with pre-made foods. The reason being that this will give accessibility to the people of Puerto Rico to get prepared and hot food. And as we're seeing, a lot of these establishments are starting to develop effectively. So we've made that petition and expect a waiver so that the people of Puerto Rico that depend on these can actually get some hot food for them and for their families. We've also note that there will be more capital that will be injected for people that are in the PAN programs. This will impact about 466 establishments that are open right now that serve these communities so that they can access food and purchase food. The estimated impact of this is 1.3 million participants in that program. I would like to announce that we are making an effort so that hot food can be cooked in certain areas in at least one location in every municipality, so that hot food can be made accessible for the people that need it, and that it could be delivered. We're working on the logistics. Some of those efforts have opened up already, but our objective is to have one of such locations everywhere in Puerto Rico. The way it's working, we've talked to the different organizations over here that provide foods, and we will purchase food so that it can be cooked and delivered to the people of Puerto Rico. We would also like to announce that in collaboration with the regional staging areas that FEMA has put forth, we will have trucks and distribution mechanisms so that from those 10 or 11 regional staging sites, trucks can go directly to the municipalities and deliver the food to those municipalities, helping those mayors and those municipalities that have had some difficulties in the logistics. So now we've identified resources that will be able to be at the regional staging areas and transport some of that food for the municipalities directly. We also invite mayors to establish a dedicated distribution site. We saw this in Culebra. It was very effective, and we think it would be a very open and transparent and effective mechanism for distributing food, just establishing a place and a site where people can go within the municipality municipality and get access to water and food and distribution as well. So we're working on those efforts today to start getting more food, more water, more effectively to the people of Puerto Rico. We also want to reiterate that we have, in terms of personnel, we have about 9,000 DoD personnel in Puerto Rico, helping mainly in areas of aviation, logistics, and medical support. So we have a significant amount, and that number is expected to increase as well. As of today, we have close to 700 EMACs that include state troopers and other personnel that are helping in areas of security and logistics as well. In Puerto Rico, these come from 20 EMACs that have been approved already, and that number is expected as well to increase significantly. There is, over 600 FEMA employees over here in Puerto Rico working the different efforts as well. I'd like to announce that I've signed 2 executive orders. The first one being allowing veterinaries from outside of Puerto Rico to come to Puerto Rico and get established for a period of at least 6 months so that they can help out with, of course, our animals and the other byproduct situations that might occur. I also signed another executive order where I give flexibility and the power to our Secretary of the Treasury to be flexible in the contributions area when establishing arrangements with different collaborators from outside of Puerto Rico that are coming over here for emergency purposes so that we can have more leeway in terms of getting more resources from the private sector as well here in Puerto Rico. Of course, again, I want to give you an update on some of the critical areas that we're looking at. I remind you that these updates are in status.pr. It'll be continuously updated. Maybe some of the things I'm telling you are being placed in the database as we speak. But first, we'd like to talk a little bit about gas station and banks, and commerce in general in Puerto Rico. In terms of banks, we have enhanced the number of banks in Puerto Rico to 153 banks that are open. That has gone up from 114 2 days ago, and from 86 about 4 days ago. The co-ops are also being established. We have 85 open now in Puerto Rico, and ATMs. We have over 320 ATMs last reported yesterday. We still need to get today's updated number on that, but 320 ATMs across Puerto Rico, and our objective again is to let everybody know where those are. Some people have internet, some don't. Media should serve as a platform to help people know where they can get money. In terms of open supermarkets, 4 days ago we had 200. We were at a 44% clip. Now we have 295 at a 65% clip. All supermarkets in Puerto Rico, denoting that progress is being made in that area as well. Gas stations that are open, we're at 814 out of the 1,100 that we have in Puerto Rico. So keep opening up, and we've been able to make sure that the fuel is more effective. A couple of days ago, we had lines that range from 6 to 7 hours. Then 2 days back, we had 1 to 2 hours. Yesterday, we saw that it was between half an hour and an hour. And now, in most areas, except some areas that still haven't been accounted for, it's between 35 minutes and 0, the waiting time. So there are areas, such as in the metropolitan area, where the waiting time has reduced significantly, where you essentially don't have to wait. But there are other areas in Puerto Rico where still the wait might increase that. Notwithstanding, the pattern is consistent across Puerto Rico, from waiting 6 to 7 hours, 4 days back, to now within an hour, you can get your gasoline needs as well. I'll also state briefly so that I don't run over all these numbers, but there is an extensive schedule to receive fuel here in Puerto Rico. It is a priority for us to receive fuel, and we've talked to the General that this is going to be one of the priorities that we make sure once, now that we're stabilizing the logistical loop, now that we're recognizing that all of the needs that we have across Puerto Rico in terms of fueling and so forth, and the picture is getting clearer, we are going to increase that fuel supply to Puerto Rico so that we can operate effectively during this phase. Would like to talk about some of the food distribution aid that's being dispersed across Puerto Rico. These efforts, again, have been done by several sectors in collaboration with FEMA. Yesterday, we had from FEMA and the National Guard and other agencies, 10 efforts from the Department of Family and Agriculture, 4 efforts from the 19 efforts, Red Cross 5, pickups in the regional staging area 16, and other entities assisting the central government, ones with 6 missions with water and food. I would like to state that FEMA has given out 400,000 foods and close to 1,000 liters of water at the 10 RSAs. 16 other municipalities again picked up a lot of those liters of water and foods. And there will be some coming today and the day after tomorrow with over 600,000 servings of food, over 600,000 liters of water, and then the day after tomorrow, another cargo with several hundred thousand liters of servings of water. In terms of, we've reached 40% of of service to our clients. This was a longer-term objective that we expected to reach within the next coming week, so a little bit quicker than what was expected. Have been established. Rio Grande, Manatí, Mayagüez, and Calle, areas that didn't have communication, now have this SATCOW provisional communication, adding to Macao, Aguadilla, Arecibo, and Ponce. Now we have several satellites across Puerto Rico where we can establish communication with those harder reach areas and those areas that were largely incommunicated. So the expectations here are to continue today implementing those SATCOWs for Quebradillas, San Germán, and Fajardo, and then during the week finishing up other SATCOWs in Mayagüez, Vega Alta, so that we could reach about 45% of the clients. In terms of natural resources and the environment, we can inform now that communities in San Juan don't have flooding. So a lot of the efforts to get the Casa de Bombas in Valdoriotti working have produced results, and in other places as well. We would like to inform that based on the task force for waste and particularly bio-waste, there have been 5 centers that have been established so that we can manage that bio-waste. 1 was open yesterday in Utuado, and 5 will be open today, which are Culebra, Vieques, Loíza, Adjuntas, and Lares. Again, the natural resources effort is continuing on in Puerto Rico, and it's working with buildings, potential problems with asbestos, communication with the municipalities to get the waste together, and so forth. And the objective is to have the different sites for bio waste within the next couple of weeks ready, which would be 16 in total. In terms of the shelter situation, we've increased a little bit the number of refugees to about 9,300. although we've reduced the number of shelters to 137. That based on the notion that some people have lost part of their roofs, part of their houses, and are seeking shelter now. So there is a flux that has been going on, as well as getting more information from areas that we didn't have information in the past. So the expectations for the future are to start consolidating, continue consolidating some of these shelters, and at the same time, within the week, reach 120 or 120 consolidated shelters. In terms of ports and the movement of cargo, we are happy to report that yesterday we gotten 855 trucks dispensing valuable cargo. That has gone up from about 755, and just to give you a sense, the normal load under normal conditions is about 1,400. So slowly but surely that rate has increased, and transportation efforts have and calls have been listened to, and the people have responded in Puerto Rico and outside of Puerto Rico. Our expectations for the future in terms of ports are making sure that within the week, we can get, we can get some air travel and cruise ships, particularly air travel in Aguadilla from United and Spirit. And the next couple of weeks, we have the Marine International Airport working effectively. In terms of water and sewers, we have 45% of the clients we serve in Puerto Rico that has gone, as we've talked about, there's a little bit of a wave in terms of how that's functioning. 45%, some of the generators may need some more fuel, and there's a logistic drive going across all of the areas. Particularly, the main reason from going down from 47 to 45 today was that there was a failure in the super aqueduct that provides water to a whole host of people, which is expected to be fixed early in this morning. That would restore some of the numbers, as well as stating that energizing La Plata is one of the priorities that we're going to have in terms of electricity. That should increase as well, the bulk number surpassing the 50% mark within today. The objectives are within a week having 60% of the people of Puerto Rico with water, with access to water, and within the next couple of weeks having 80% of the people with access to water. In terms of energy, I remind you that on the 21st of September, we had zero service. 100% of the grid was down. Yesterday, we had about 5% of the clients with service. Critical areas where were uploaded, airports, the ports, 911, Coliseum of Puerto Rico, and so forth. And then for today, we have gotten the Hospital Metropolitano in Guaynabo, Hospital Pavia in Atorrey, the Corco in Guayanilla to supply fuel or additional fuel, hotels and different commerces in Isla Verde, banks and commerces in Guaynabo as well. So there are different critical structures, hospitals and other critical structures that are now energized. There's about 10 hospitals that are energized and 7 other critical structures, 4 hospitals that are energized, totaling 17, including 2 hospitals in Ponce, Hospital Damas, and Dr. Pila as well. So again, the expectations within the week are to turn on Costa Sur and Aguirre so that we can add more energy prowess to Puerto Rico and get that energy to the critical areas, particularly in the south. And within the month, having 25% of the clients serviced and entering the plants of generation units 5 and 6 of San Juan. In terms of travel, The AMA and Metrobus are operating at around 50%, same as yesterday, and we have increased and stabilized the trips to Vieques and Culebra, which was a petition made by the mayors over there. So within the week, we expect to have 75% of that service. And within a couple of weeks, we expect to have all 4 trips to Vieques and Culebra operating effectively. Again, these are the results of the efforts that are being produced with a collaboration between federal government, DOD, with the leadership of all of the generals, of all of the administrators that have worked together with Puerto Rico so that we can start surpassing some of these emergencies. Now, we also start focusing on areas such as maintenance and report, access to more fuel in Puerto Rico, and preventing medical or public health emergencies in Puerto Rico. With that said, we have Alejandro de la Campa to give an update on the FEMA efforts as well.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. I'll be brief because the Governor covered most of the areas, so I'm just going to touch certain areas. We continue working in close collaboration with the Government of Puerto Rico, with all the agencies, and also with all the federal partners. I want to recognize and thank General Buchanan and General Seminite for the outstanding support that they are providing to FEMA and to the Government of Puerto Rico. So thank you for that. In terms of commodity distribution, the Governor mentioned the amounts that were distributed yesterday to the regional staying areas, and the new plan that will be implemented where trucks will also be going to the different municipalities to distribute the food and the water that is out there. So we also have a plan, and this plan will incorporate all the areas that are related to isolated communities. We have identified a group of municipalities that they require special attention, so we're creating to address those specific needs, and those municipalities are in the center of the island. We have been mentioning that for the last few days, the Utuado, Naranjito, Las Marias, Maricao, and some other municipalities where we're going to have to continue with a special plan by air and by other means, try to provide food and water to those families that have been already identified. So in general terms, as of today, we have delivered 5.5 million liters of water and 5 million meals as of today in general terms. Other entities are providing also support. The Governor mentioned several of them: Salvation Army, American Red Cross, Feeding America, Department of Education, and others. So we're doing the whole community concept. It's not just a small group, but it's all the other entities that are also providing hot meals to the municipalities. In terms of bulk water distribution, we have delivered over 100,000 gallons of water to hospitals and dialysis centers. We're doing this on a daily basis, covering all hospitals and dialysis centers and elderly homes that need the water. In terms of fuel distribution, hospitals remain the priority. Yesterday, we refueled 9 medical facilities. Today, we're refueling 7 additional hospitals around the island, specifically in Ponce, Mayagüez, and other areas around the island. Debris road clearance, 13 roads open, 625 kilometers have been open, and we have identified 17 roads and 15 bridges impossible due to road obstructions. We have the details of all those roads and bridges, so it will be available to the media after this press conference if necessary. The Department of Defense and other entities are working in clearing those 19 routes that we have identified. In terms of power restoration, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Department of Energy, and Puerto Rico Electric and Power Authority continue working in the efforts to restore the electrical system. And I want to stress this point I'm going to make right now. As per the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 22 generators have been installed across the island. The priority right now are hospitals, critical infrastructure, and also aqueduct and sewer authority facilities. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have conducted 108 generator assessments around the island. That means that generators have been assessed in terms of sometimes when they go there, they just need fuel or they need minor repairs, and those repairs are conducted, so there's no need to install a new generator. As I said, 22 installations completed and 10 are in process as we speak today. And something to clarify also, those generators are large capacity generators. We're talking generators that have been installed from 250 kilowatts to 800 kilowatts. So it's the large capacity generators that we're talking about. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers confirmed that they have additional 143 generators ready to go, again, large scale, that will be installed wherever is required across the island. Again, priorities are hospitals and critical infrastructure. And there are another 304 generators that are en route. That's related to the installation of generators. Water restoration, the governor mentioned the percentage of PRASA clients with potable water. We have 78 water tanker trucks around the 78 municipalities, so we're providing that water around the island. We are producing isolated community support with the new task force that we are creating. In terms of assistance to individuals, the number of applications surpassed already the 100,000 applications around the island. Our efforts to reach communities without connectivity has been successful in terms that our teams are going to all municipalities around the island and making sure that people can apply for assistance. So the current number is 104,897 applications that we have received. In terms of public assistance, the new number that we have approved to the municipalities for their emergency efforts at this time is $28 million. That's in addition to the $7 million approved to the families. So the new figure from FEMA in terms of assistance to the families and to the municipalities, it goes up to $35 million, and that number continues growing. Related to the Blue Roof TARP mission, we have distributed over 9,000 what we call light plastic self-help tarps. Those are light tarps that we have been distributing to municipalities. 10 municipalities received them. We're also sending those type of tarps to the regional PRIMA zones around the island, and they're going to be able to install it, the families or voluntary agencies. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, starting yesterday and today, with the installation of the more permanent plastic sheeting tarps that will be conducted around the island. Just to give you some samples, yesterday to the GA group here in San Juan, we provided 400 of those light tarps so they can start covering their homes in a temporary basis. And before this conference, I had a meeting with the Secretary of Housing, where we're going to be providing also those light tarps to the Department of Housing, and they can help us distribute. So we need the support of everybody, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, voluntary agencies, Puerto Rico National Guard, and also Department of Housing to be able to distribute those tarps across the island and make sure that it reaches the people of Puerto Rico. Thank you.
So I'll give a brief summary in Spanish. Buenos días a todos. Las prioridades continúan siendo las que hemos tenido desde el primer día: mantener y sostener vidas, llevar agua y comida, poder establecer el uso de energía, telecomunicaciones y los hospitales de manera efectiva, y hemos añadido, ya pasando a otra fase, la distribución de combustibles y la capacidad de recibir combustibles aquí en Puerto Rico, evitar un evento de salud pública y tener una rotación de lo que sería mantenimiento, y reparo de los generadores en Puerto Rico. Queremos anunciar que he firmado 2 órdenes ejecutivas. La primera es para permitirle a veterinarios fuera de Puerto Rico que puedan venir acá, que tengan una dispensa para así hacerlo y que puedan operar por un periodo de 6 meses. La segunda es para flexibilizar lo que serían los componentes de contributivos, darle poder al secretario de Hacienda a que pueda flexibilizar esas contribuciones para ciertos sectores que vengan a colaborar aquí en Puerto Rico de cara a los próximos meses para la emergencia. Están viendo que las filas están reduciendo en términos de la gasolina. Hace unos cuantos días eran 6-7 horas, bajó a 1-2 horas, ayer a 1 media hora y ahora por lo general, con algunas excepciones, entre 35 minutos a 0 minutos. Hay algunas gasolineras que, particularmente en el área metropolitana, que no tienen espera. Hemos pedido una reconsideración al FNS para poder permitirle a aquellos acogidos a los cupones que puedan utilizar esos mecanismos para comprar comida preparada. Eso significa ¿verdad? Ir a los fast foods o a otros establecimientos de comida preparada para proveerle mayor acceso a comida a todos los puertorriqueños. De la misma forma, se añadirá un flujo de $15 millones al PAN, que le dará más recursos cuando se empiecen a distribuir a los recipientes del PAN desde el 4 de octubre. Eso va a impactar 466 comercios que están abiertos, que reciben el PAN hoy, y impactaría a 1.3 millones de recipientes del PAN para que puedan estar recibiendo sus alimentos. Quedándonos en el tema de la comida, vamos a abrir unos centros a través de todo Puerto Rico cocinando y se va a estar distribuyendo esa comida. Vamos a estar trabajando con Midas y con otros que nos han indicado que ya hay comida suficiente. Lo que tenemos que hacer es comprarla y entonces cocinarla y distribuirla. El mecanismo de ello se va a estar desglosando próximamente. Los centros de distribución, los RSA, ahora van a tener también unos trucks específicos que van a permitir que se lleve esa comida de los Regional Staging Areas hacia los municipios, facilitándole ese esfuerzo a los alcaldes. Y de la misma forma, hacemos un llamado a los alcaldes para que hagan un centro de distribución en sus municipios, para que todo el mundo sepa dónde es que tienen que ir para buscar estos recursos y que puedan hacerlo, ¿verdad? La idea surge de ver cómo se llevó a cabo en Culebra, reconociendo que Culebra es más pequeño en términos de extensión, ¿verdad? de extensión territorial, pero que todo el pueblo sabe dónde y cuándo es que pueden ir a buscar estos recursos. Importante que el pueblo sepa. Como les dije, voy a ir rápido sobre esto, pero casi todos los datos se estarán actualizando en status.pr. Algunos de los que le he dicho ahora todavía no están actualizados, ¿verdad? Esto es rápido, que lo hemos sacado lo más actualizado. En los próximos minutos deben de estar actualizados, pero solamente para que sepan, hay un flujo saludable de combustible hacia Puerto Rico. Las comidas y las misiones siguen aumentando con FEMA y con el gobierno federal. Tenemos ya 9,000 activos del Departamento de la Defensa aquí en Puerto Rico para misiones aéreas, para logística y para misiones médicas. De la misma forma, tenemos las telecomunicaciones han aumentado a 40%, se están poniendo satélites provisionales a través de todo Puerto Rico, particularmente en aquellas áreas que no tienen ninguna comunicación cercana, y ya al día de hoy Mayagüez, Calley, Río Grande, Manatí, Humacao, Aguadilla, Arecibo y Ponce tienen unas de estas antenas provisionales para poder permitir que se comuniquen. Posterior a ello, no tengo los datos ahora, pero interesante que podemos medir las llamadas y el flujo de textos que surgen producto de estas antenas provisionales, y son enormes. O sea que hay muchísima comunicación que se está dando ahora que no se estaba dando previamente. En términos de los puertos, ahora hay 85 despachos de contenedores en los puertos, 855, lo normal es 1,400, o sea que ya a lo largo de la última semana estamos subiendo de 0 a 400, a 600 y a 155, que ya hay más transportación, ya hay más recursos de transporte para Puerto Rico. En acueducto estamos en 45%, bajó un poco, producto de una falla en el superacueducto, pero que ya se está energizando, y la expectativa es que entre hoy y mañana ya La Plata se esté energizando también, produciendo suficiente agua para llegar a más del 50%. Las expectativas son en una semana 60%, en un mes 80% de la población con acceso al agua. En términos de los hospitales, se han podido energizar varios más. Hay 17 hospitales o CDT que tienen energía a través de todo Puerto Rico, ¿verdad? Teniendo áreas como Carolina, Ponce, Río Piedras, entre otras, Mayagüez, que tienen hospitales o centros, ¿verdad?, diagnósticos que están funcionando. La expectativa es que el hospital en Carolina, en San Juan y en la Costa Sur se prendan hoy ¿verdad?, en términos de energía, subir al 25% en un mes de acceso a energía. Esos son más o menos, resumidas cuentas, la actualización, y estamos disponibles para cualquier pregunta que puedan tener.
We will take some questions. We are updating the graphics in the screen just to let you know. We'll start with Noticias.
Hola, buenos días, gobernador. Un poco sobre la petición que han hecho de reconsideración sobre los fondos del PAN, para explicar un poco a aquellos que no están pendientes, porque hay unas restricciones para utilizar la tarjeta que hasta el momento el que haya tenido el tope del efectivo no puede sacar, más tiene el problema de que no todos los establecimientos que están operando toman o cogen ATH. Claro. ¿Qué alternativa hay? Si esa reconsideración quiere decir que le habían denegado la petición inicial.
Se había hecho una petición inicial, ¿verdad? A un nivel más bajo, se había denegado, pero a un nivel más alto, ahora lo estamos elevando a un nivel más alto para que se pueda facilitar. La petición básicamente lo que quiere es abrir las compuertas, que las restricciones se limiten, tanto en términos del capital, el acceso a los distintos supermercados, que se pueda extender a restaurantes y, ¿verdad?, de comida ya procesada, para que la gente pueda comer caliente y que puedan comer en general. Así que eso ya se está encaminando y se está trabajando, ¿verdad?, con lo que son las limitaciones en términos de las ATH, etcétera, pero ya informamos que 466 de estos comercios tienen accesibilidad, van a estar a través de todo Puerto Rico. No sé si todavía está aquí en la tabla, pero obviamente lo que vamos a querer hacer es poner lo que son todos esos establecimientos, ir actualizándolo para que el pueblo de Puerto Rico sepa.
One question per media outlet NPR.
Por ahora no hay término. Go ahead. Morning.
I'm curious, what impact, any, will the president's visit have on aid distribution today? Of course, there are a lot of logistics closures that go into a visit like this. Will that interrupt aid effort at all?
I don't foresee that it's going to well, let me change that. It's not going to affect the logistical route in Puerto Rico. All of the assets that have come in for the security of the president have been external and added for that purpose. The logistics is probably, we still don't know the details of the travels, but the logistics are fine-tuned, set, established, and our teams were collaborating obviously with the advanced team and with the Secret Service of the president to make sure that it didn't hinder the logistics distribution in Puerto Rico.
El vocero.
Mi pregunta va dirigida que a pocas horas llega el presidente de los Estados Unidos, así que quiero conocer cuáles son las expectativas que usted tiene. Sé que antes de hace como aproximadamente un mes había dicho unos temas en particular, pero a solo horas, ¿cuáles son las expectativas que tienen? Bueno,
miren, y tal vez lo contesto en español y en inglés, pero hace un mes las condiciones en Puerto Rico eran muy diferentes a las que son hoy, ¿verdad? Hace un mes pues teníamos una tormenta que venía o que llegó a Puerto Rico, que tuvo un efecto devastador, pero que no era de la magnitud que cuando María vino. O sea que mi enfoque va a ser centralizado en el impacto de la tormenta y en el impacto y lo que se tiene que hacer para recuperar a Puerto Rico. Así que eso va a ser el enfoque. So to the question, I'll say it in English, was what are my expectations for dialogue with the president as he comes to Puerto Rico, based on some other previous expectations in the past, about a month ago. My answer was that, a lot has changed within a month in Puerto Rico. We certainly had not only one, but two storms. After the first storm, there was devastation, but certainly after Maria, the devastation has been of unprecedented nature. So my conversation with him will be very much so storm-centric. What has been the damage caused by the storm? What do we need right now? What are the the deployment efforts that are going on, and what do we need to rebuild towards the future? I would also focus our conversation on the effectiveness that the DoD and FEMA and other agencies have had in Puerto Rico, which again I reiterate, this has been a full collaboration. They have been working around the clock, many of them stretched, but doing everything within their power to make sure that all of the priorities of the government get executed appropriately and that the people of Puerto Rico are safe and secure.
Noticentro.
Gobernador, estamos en vivo para Noticias. Me gustaría hablar en particular de un caso la semana pasada, el viernes pasado, que a lo mejor puede ejemplificar muchos tantos en Puerto Rico. Noticentro conversó con una dama que llegó aquí a recibir un servicio para su madre que estaba muriendo, tenía cáncer terminal, ella se llamó Mayra. Estaba solicitando un generador eléctrico porque le iban a dar de alta para darle calidad de vida a través de un tanque de oxígeno en su hogar. Aquí, a través del secretario de la Gobernación, se comprometieron en ayudarla. Hoy me escribió que nunca la ayudaron, su madre falleció y el secretario de la Gobernación señaló que ante el desconocimiento de que la madre había fallecido, que aparentemente los generadores que aquí se le podían proveer eran demasiada capacidad para lo que ella necesitaba. No pretendo necesariamente que me traiga una respuesta, pero como el caso de Mayra tiene que haber muchos en el país y dicen por ahí que la justicia tardía no es justicia, en este caso a lo mejor en el caso de ella la ayuda tardía pues tampoco fue ayuda. Sí. ¿Qué tendría que decirle a ella?
Bueno, mira, en primer lugar esto es una situación sin precedentes y no hay palabras para decirle, ¿verdad? A una hija que haya perdido una madre, sin efecto es la situación. Nosotros estamos buscando todos los recursos, generadores del sector privado, generadores de FEMA, para poder distribuirlos. Tanto como esa historia, yo le puedo decir también que otros grupos están colaborando. Mi esposa, por ejemplo, ha estado consiguiendo distintas peticiones y han estado llevando generadores a lugares, a casas de personas, ¿verdad? De asilo, de personas que necesitan esto. O sea que es una situación muy difícil, no hay palabras para responder. Desconocía obviamente del caso, voy a investigar qué es lo que pasó, pero que sepan que aquí estamos moviendo todo para que podamos sostener la vida, permitirle a aquellos que están en una posición vulnerable, como la madre de Omaira, que puedan tener sus generadores, que puedan tener sus recursos y que tenemos el COE, los distintos equipos de trabajo listos para poder responderle al pueblo de Puerto Rico. Tenemos que hacer más, seguimos subiendo esas capacidades, no voy a descansar hasta que todos en Puerto Rico pues, puedan garantizarle su seguridad y su vida.
CNBC.
Governor, the mayor of San Juan has been publicly pushing for a 10-year moratorium at a minimum on public debt repayments. Is that something that you would support? And also, how do you give the president a clear picture of the magnitude of the damage on this island?
I think, number one, as the president flies over the island, I think it's inescapable to see what the damage has been done in Puerto Rico. I'm not sure if he's, if the plan is to oversee other areas in Puerto Rico, and if they are, he will be able to have a snapshot of, not only the magnitude of the devastation, but the variety of the devastation. I think this is something that's very clear. Absent of that, I've made sure to print out a lot of the images that we've taken overflying Puerto Rico, and obviously that others have taken around, so that the president can have a clear view, a visual of the extent of the damage, of the unprecedented nature of the damage. My focus right now in terms of, getting Puerto Rico pushing forward is to have an aid package that is consistent with the needs that Puerto Rico has right now. It has to be, and it is focused strictly on the damage of the storm. We feel that, we've calculated that the damage of the storm is extensive. And what we want is from that aid package to receive, number one, the funding that is consistent with the damage as would have been in Florida or Texas for the citizens of Puerto Rico. Number two, we want to make sure that we get waivers, particular waivers, so that we can operate and that we can have a runway towards the future, establishing the initial conditions that'll make us be successful later on. And lastly, which might be relevant to the question, we're asking for lines of credit from the Treasury in particular. You know, this has been done in the past when, and particularly under the guise of a fiscal oversight board. You know, when Washington had a fiscal oversight board, Treasury provided some lines of credit. When New York had an oversight board, New York City, New York State provided that support. So we feel that with those components, obviously some more granular detail, we will be able to start getting funding, stop the, rebuild Puerto Rico. And of course, in terms of the debt payment, there was a process already started with Title III that allows us either the courts to discuss, dictate, and mitigate what those expenditures would be, or we could go back to what was called Title VI renegotiation efforts, where the bondholders and the government would sit down and figure out what the best path forward would be. So I am open to those alternatives, but clearly focusing right now on what the urgent action needs to be. It's not one of the bondholders, but rather one of Congress. And I am confident, again, speaking to, I think already half of the senators and, a significant number of congressmen and congresswomen, that they are committed to seeing this, in the short run, providing Puerto Rico equal treatment and allowing us the platform so that we can have a runway to execute appropriately with the limitations that we have.
Una pregunta por medio, el nuevo día.
Gobernador, buen día. Ayer se había mencionado que se iban a ampliar la cantidad de centros de distribución. Quería saber si eso ya se ejecutó y cuántos subieron y en qué pueblo.
No, todavía están en el proceso de identificar las áreas, ¿verdad? Se espera que en las próximas 72 horas se puedan identificar, se puedan abrir lo que son estos otros regional staging areas. Por eso también hemos comenzado con la iniciativa de distribución, básicamente como si fuera a llevar regional staging areas hacia los municipios mediante los trucks que vamos a tener en esos regional staging areas para que lleguen a los distintos municipios.
One question per media outlet, LA Times.
Thank you to the governor and the officials for having this briefing. Will the president be meeting with hurricane victims? Do we know where those victims are coming from? And I also wondered, will you be requesting added resources for the interior for some of those hard-hit areas you mentioned? And I'm sorry, one last question. Do we have an updated death toll?
In terms of the death toll, the number is 16. However, I want to caution and I want to say that we have asked for a revision with all of the hospitals so that they can, we can go to their morgues and get accountability in conjunction with our ICF center, forensic center, so that we can get an updated number. I've established from the get-go that, due to the magnitude of this event, it is likely that number is going to go up. And as soon as we get some of that certification, I expect it to be, within the next 24 hours, then we can start giving more updates in terms of injuries and in death. I forgot the other one.
Will they be meeting? I'm sorry. Will the president be meeting with hurricane victims from what part
I
of the
don't know.
country? And will you be asking for added resources, in particular for those hard-hit areas in the interior?
Right. Well, we are asking, as I stated, the president, the federal government are doing their part. They've always been doing their part. The DOD and FEMA and all federal agencies are working tirelessly, but we all recognize that we need to do a lot more. And particularly now, as the landscape, gets a little bit clearer, we got to recognize that this is not homogeneous, right? That this is, we have pockets that have different challenges. We have areas of Puerto Rico that have access to water. So sending bottled water to those areas might not be the most efficient, path forward. We have areas of Puerto Rico that are locked, that are hard to get to, and those should be priority. We have regions such as the one you stated, regionally speaking, there might be some exceptions, but within the mountains, based on the devastation of the roads, based on, some of the conditions that present some potential future challenges, as we've spoken, public health emergencies and so forth. So what we want is for the resources and, the aid to continue getting over here, for the principals to keep designing what the execution path of our priorities, and for us to be able to anticipate rather than just react to the emergency, what some of these challenges might look like. So we're doing that internally, and of course our petition essentially stays the same. Let's keep bringing Puerto Rico all of the resources necessary to exit this emergency phase and push forward to the rebuilding phase.
Una pregunta por medio, Guapa Radio.
Buenos días, gobernador, y a todos los presentes. ¿Qué usted podría decirle a las personas que están llegando aquí al centro de convención, pedir trabajo a través de FEMA, pedir ayuda, a reportar pérdidas? Sé que FEMA ha dicho que eso se haría por teléfono, por internet, que aquí no se está dando ese servicio, pero la gran mayoría del país no tiene acceso ni a teléfono ni a internet, y la pregunta sería si es posible que haya un servicio directo para que le tome esa información a los ciudadanos, porque aunque tuvieran internet,
sí,
aquí viejitos que no saben bregar con el internet.
Es verdad, y por eso FEMA ya tiene unos grupos que han estado desplazándose por todo Puerto Rico. En promedio están haciendo 10 a 12 municipios al día, donde ellos van con unas tablets, una información, y entonces le recogen esa información. ¿Verdad? Sé que todavía hay algunos que no lo tienen. Ya hay 102,000 solicitudes, ¿verdad? De impacto directo, y de nuevo reitero que ahora, esto lo anuncié ayer ¿verdad? Por las redes, pero ya el 100% de los pueblos en Puerto Rico cualifican para solicitar todas esas ayudas en todos los frentes y tener la exención de 100%. O sea que reconozco eso. Ya hay grupos que están desplazándose a través de todo Puerto Rico para poder recopilar esa información, y ya se está aumentando, ¿verdad? Con, por ejemplo, los SAT-CAOs en los distintos municipios que les di, que la gente puede identificar dónde es que está esa señal, y si lo quieren hacer ellos, lo pueden hacer, pero de una manera o de otra, ya si ellos consiguen acceso a señal como la tenemos aquí, e internet, pues entonces que lo pueden hacer ellos con el website o con la aplicación, pero si no, ¿verdad? Agentes de FEMA van a estar trabajando y vamos a estar colaborando, ¿verdad? Se van a estar obviamente utilizando recursos a nivel local para ayudar, facilitar esa distribución, y FEMA va a estar ¿verdad? Contratando a esos recursos.
One question per media outlet, Miami Herald.
Governor, I appreciate your giving the figure on the confirmed death toll, but I want to ask you about indirect death.
Right.
Partly following up on the question of the television reporter. What are you hearing about people not getting dialysis, or cancer operations postponed? What other challenges are there with getting ambulances moved around, or patients in one hospital where there's no electricity to another? Any estimate on indirect casualty?
Right. So part of the effort, it's a good question. Part of the effort that we are doing right now with the hospitals and with the morgue is to determine which ones have been direct deaths due to the storm and obviously the direct byproduct of it, or indirect deaths. Again, morgues have they are the ones that have that asset. We've already started opening up our forensic center to evaluate that, and as soon as we get them, we're going to give that data set. I've heard reports such as everybody else over here, but what I want to do is make sure that I don't tell you, a report that went on a few days back that in a municipality, a mudslide had taken 200 folks, which was actually determined to be untrue. So what we really want to do is give you the facts. We're not, we recognize that there are likely going to be more deaths, and certainly more indirect deaths. We just don't know the magnitude, how many of those. And as soon as they are available, we will give it to you. Now we've established a communication links with the hospital, with the forensic center, so that we can get to the granular detail, get a report, and then inform those deaths.
One question per media outlet, CNN.
Thank you. Governor, President Trump spoke before your meeting. He said this morning about Puerto Rico, we need more truck drivers, or drivers have to start driving trucks on a local level to give us more help. Do you feel like there is more you guys can be doing from a local perspective? And do you feel like the president understands that part of the difficulty of getting local drivers and local assistance is that people are in places where their homes are wiped out and may not have?
Well, two things. It is true that we had a big challenge in terms of logistics and trucks, just in the past couple of days. But it is also true that now we're starting to get more people involved. I gave you a stat that it's a correlation, but it should give us an indication of how many human resource and truck drivers we're getting. We're up to 855 cargoes that are moving daily from the ports. The normal transportation would be about 1,400. So we steadily increased that in the past 4 days, probably doubling what was the what was that number a couple of days back. So there we certainly need resources, but right now some of those capabilities across Puerto Rico are starting, I wouldn't say to reach normal levels, but are starting to normalize, right? So we're probably getting over 60% of that efficiency, when about a little less than a week ago we had about 20% of that efficiency. Similar with police and other capabilities. So those capabilities are going up, and this is an indication that within this emergency, priorities and problems are not fixed. Right, so some things are going to evolve, some things are going to diminish as we solve the transportation problems, or as the efforts of FEMA and DOD solved the logistical problems. Some other near and midterm challenges will arise, such as potential public health problems. And what we want to do is, instead of reacting to those, we want to start anticipating those.
One question per media outlet, Wall Street Journal.
Can you address on the public health front what you have seen already that is of concern?
Right. Well, I don't have a specific. But there are some instances that I can discuss. There is not one particular event where I can showcase, except in Ponce there was a report that in a certain shelter, people were getting conjunctivitis. And that was actually confirmed by the mayor. She confirmed, however, that other reports of other illnesses were not correct. So that's one example of something that is very localized. We want to move DMAT units so we can control it and not make it spread any farther. But there are some challenges that you can start foreseeing, maybe not immediate, but in the midterm. Puerto Rico has always had its challenges or its battles with mosquito-related illnesses, right? In the immediacy after the storm, there is sort of a buffer that allows that to not be provoked immediately. But notwithstanding, the CDC has been already doing its vector check, and of course the DOD has capabilities to work on that front as well. So again, mosquitoes, incidents that might be occurring in hospitals, incidents that might be occurring in shelters. We want to be 2 steps ahead of them before they become a big problem.
Now, please, let's excuse the federal officials because they have another event. Thank you. Telesur.
Yo también.
Gobernador, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Yo sé que esta pregunta ya se la hicieron en inglés, pero gustaría tenerlo en español para nuestro público.
Sí.
¿Cuáles son específicamente los puntos que usted va a delinear con el presidente Donald Trump
¿Y cuál va a ser el itinerario de la visita para saber específicamente cuáles son los puntos que el presidente estará visitando? Muchas
Sí,
gracias.
no tengo los detalles de la visita todavía, me darán un brief antes de que llegue el presidente, pero ciertamente los puntos que voy a estar tocando tienen que ver con el impacto de la tormenta en Puerto Rico, ¿verdad? Y la respuesta que se tiene que hacer de manera inmediata y la respuesta que se tiene que hacer a largo plazo. Así que mi enfoque va a ser en el impacto de la tormenta, que todo el mundo se enfoque en lo que tenemos que trabajar, ¿verdad? Pueden haber 1001 temas que uno pudiera estar tocando, pero ahora me compete a mí, ¿verdad? Y a todo el que tenga la oportunidad de dejarle saber cuáles son los resultados hasta ahora, cuáles son los retos de cara al futuro y cuáles son las necesidades, tanto inmediatas como ¿verdad? A largo plazo, para que Puerto Rico pueda salir de la emergencia y que pueda reconstruir.
CBS.
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Help us understand, it's day 13, right? And you're still using the word emergency. And you've got people in the mountains, in Villalba and Guado, places like that, who are still desperate.
Yeah.
Mayors who are asking for more. What is taking so long? What do you need to fix that? These are people who are asking for life-saving things, and on day 13, you still can't get it to them. Is there a breakdown, like, you know, and you've said in the past, the mayors distribute, right? We provide, the local leaders distribute. Is that not happening? Like, what's going wrong and where is it happening?
Well, it is a good question. Many things could be happening. I don't want to address that. I want to address what is going on and what other steps we're taking to make sure that food and water get to the people of Puerto Rico and basic needs, right? Right now, we had established regional staging centers that would distribute to the mayors. We recognize that it might be a challenge for some of them to get there. So what we've done is we've placed trucks now to deliver it to them. That's number one. Number two, we recognize that in some municipalities, some people, even though we've had documented, and I've personally gone on some of those missions, we've delivered food and water, it hasn't gotten to some people. Now, it could be for a whole host of reasons. One of them could be they just didn't listen, couldn't hear it. The information didn't get to them. So what are we proposing? We're proposing that every mayor establishes a clear distribution site where the people can go there. And we're proposing that somehow we use other of our assets to communicate this, whether it be, cars with the mechanisms, with the instruments so that they can communicate in loudspeakers and tell people where to go, whether it be flyers that can be distributed, even helicopters that have that capability we've been established so that the message gets across. So I recognize that there are still people, again, that might have not gotten those resources. And what we're doing is we continuously are approaching a strategy so that it is more transparent what's occurring, that it is easier to get these resources, that people know that there is more of these resources available. And now, again, the last sort of step is making sure that people know where these resources are and can actually get them if, the local authorities can't get to them. So aside from the traditional chain, we're also going to open up centers where food is provided, right? We're going to buy food, it's going to be cooked, and it's going to be delivered. Now, that logistic is being designed as we speak, but that gives another, I would say, another shock absorption to this food distribution mechanism. Again, I wouldn't say we need more if we didn't need more. We need more help. But at the same time, recognize that all of the assets that we're deploying over here are working. There is food being delivered. Again, on average, 60 missions a day that are going with a lot of food and a lot of water to the different municipalities and different centers. We are continue to be implemented so that we can, as we fix the logistics, as we get more resources to transport them, food and water can get to the people.
One question per media outlet, the Financial Times.
Hi, Governor. Over the last few years, Puerto Rico has lost 300,000 residents.
Yeah.
People are now boarding flights, locking up their homes, and the mainland. How is that going to complicate recovery and rebuilding efforts? And does that mean that we're facing a greater mass exodus?
Well, no doubt that, as you well alluded to, exodus has been a significant problem in Puerto Rico historically, particularly the last decade and a half. And facing such an event where even basic necessities are essentially hard to get to, of course, will provoke an onset of people going to places where they can get those basic necessities. Now, we can't do much about that in the immediate term because our focus right now is the emergency. What we can do and what we should do is recognize that if we don't place the correct initial conditions in an aid package, this is not only going to occur immediately, but it's going to occur in the mid-run and in the long run. And the effect of that is going to be that you're not only going to get hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans moving to the States, you're going to get millions. You're going to get millions, creating a devastating demographic shift for us here in Puerto Rico, a brain drain, a human resource delimited effect, and it's going to create a demographic shift and a demographic problem to other states. I remind you that since we are U.S. citizens, there is not much paperwork or no paperwork you have to do other than purchasing a flight to one of the states. So right now, people are going, people that have needs, and that can't get them met over here, of course, they should try to get them met elsewhere. That is part of what is going on. But I am convinced that if we do have the resources, then we can lay out a medium to long-term strategy that will allow Puerto Rico to have a self-sustaining structure, to build better than before, and to have those people that might leave temporarily come back to Puerto Rico and actually invite others that have left in the past to reconsider coming to Puerto Rico.
The final question, the New York Times.
Buenos días, señor.
Buenos días.
¿Usted puede explicar un poco cuál era la lógica de poner ese trabajo de mover la comida en manos de los municipios? Y también no he escuchado nada sobre hielo. Los diabéticos ya llevan 2 semanas con la insulina fuera de la nevera.
Sí, estamos distribuyendo hielo a través de todo Puerto Rico. De hecho, nuestro esfuerzo, algunos de los cargos que vinieron eran hielos puramente, ¿verdad? La lógica detrás y sobre lo de insulina y las medicinas en general, ¿verdad? Insulina para los diabéticos, pero medicina en general, pues sí es una consideración y una prioridad. Así que parte de ese hielo, parte de esos freezer, parte de esos generadores van en dirección para poder mantener ellos. ¿Por qué la lógica cuál es la lógica de que los municipios y que los alcaldes estén a cargo? Es la manera en que el disaster relief funciona más efectivamente. Los alcaldes conocen más las necesidades, las áreas, la logística de sus municipios que lo que puede conocer cualquier efectivo del gobierno central o cualquier efectivo del gobierno ¿verdad? Federal o del Departamento de la Defensa. Ellos saben cuáles son las comunidades más afectadas, ellos saben cuáles son las que están ¿verdad? Limitadas por acceso, porque inmediatamente después de la tormenta ellos salieron y porque ellos, ¿verdad? Siendo alcaldes y alcaldesas, conocen las necesidades y los retos típicos de su municipio. O sea que esa es la razón, no es delegándole todo, ¿verdad? Al contrario, es pidiendo la colaboración, Esto no puede funcionar efectivamente si tú no tienes una colaboración desde el gobierno central hasta FEMA, el Departamento de la Defensa, Guardia Nacional, y entonces los municipios y las non-for-profits para que puedan ir ayudando en esta ruta. O sea que los alcaldes son vitales en el esfuerzo de distribuir, en el esfuerzo de comunicar, en el esfuerzo de hacer llegar todos estos recursos, en el esfuerzo de cara hacia el futuro, de ver cuáles son las necesidades de salud pública, de ver cuáles son los hospitales que están abiertos. Los alcaldes, sin los alcaldes, ¿verdad? Este sistema no sería efectivo y por eso es que siempre hacemos el llamado, aunque la gran mayoría de ellos lo están haciendo, ¿verdad? Excelentemente. Siempre hacemos el llamado para que los alcaldes sigan participando, sigan incluyendo, porque su información es vital para la logística y la ejecución de todo el resto del proceso.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to get yelled at for having my razor on me.
Yes, because that's what's going to get you yelled at.
No, it's a blade.
Takes 2 minutes verifying your names and information, point of contact. Charlie Company, there's a lot of shortages with that information.
Stuff probably. You should be.
That are like authorized by the access themselves. Never really have.
After your bags are loaded. I got 2 Here we go. All right, bye.
Yeah. Well, look like I said, but yeah, this is right there. I think it was up too.
Yeah, I was
Refresh
gonna
the
do
website. I was gonna refresh the website and see. Just back when we looked at it.
This is the 27th.
We look at imagery from Civil Air Patrol, imagery that we get from a website called NOAA that's a weather app. We basically do damage assessments on homes. We've been looking around how much of the island is affected. What can FEMA do for these people? Where are the flood zones? Where are the escape routes? Where are the shelters? Basically just so people on the ground have products they can put in their hands and help people on the ground.
The Air National Guard is deploying 26 188th Civil Engineers with a Disaster Relief Bed Down Set, or DRBS, in support of hurricane relief efforts in the Virgin Islands. The set will provide housing and basic amenities to include purified drinking water for relief workers. The Air Guardsmen also bring additional skills.
So we have the technical people like your electricians, your power pro guys, which are your power generation guys, your heavy equipment guys, water and waste, which is water and fuels to make your water. When this thing hits the ground, we start putting the tents and you bed down, and then we can put our shower shaves, latrines, laundries. So it's pretty much a plug and play living system for 150 people.
Once completed, 4 to 5 members will remain to sustain the DRBS, while the others will assist in debris removal and cleanup. They are expected to stay in the Virgin Islands for at least 30 days or as needed. Reporting from Fort Smith, Arkansas, I'm Senior Airman Matthew Matlock.
The mission of Beachmaster Unit 2 is to establish beaches for the use of LCUs, landing craft utility, used by Assault Craft Unit 2. Typically for the beginning of a beach landing, we're going to be pre-boated, loaded already onto one of the craft. So we roll off first with these craft we have called LARCs, lighter amphibious resupply cargo 5-ton. We use those for seaward salvage and the first thing to go ashore. We also bring along a bulldozer, a 7-ton truck, and a Humvee for communications. And that's typical for the kind of operation we're doing here. We establish the beach, set up perimeters, control security of those perimeters, guide craft in and out, and control traffic of rolling stock and any other supplies that may need to be brought ashore to the mission, then can guide them on to their objectives. We're using a concrete ramp, so we have less work to do in terms of the actual preparation of the beach, but we still have to support the movement of vehicles onto and off of that ramp. I've heard the chain of command on the Kearsarge talking about how every sailor on board the ship needs to be aware that they have a role in supporting this disaster response. And personally, I feel very fortunate in that we've been able to take an active hand in getting disaster relief equipment ashore. Just taking a look around these islands and the operations we've been conducting, there's been so much devastation in the wake of 2 hurricanes, and I'm pleased that Beachmaster Unit 2 has been able to come out here, get equipment ashore, and hopefully bring some much needed relief to the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
Hey, what are you checking you in?
The original mission the BLT was given was to act as the C2 forward for the 26 MU. And this is really what the battalion landing team does best. I mean, we operate from the land. We extend the ability of the entire Expeditionary Strike Group to project power inland. And it allows us to quickly connect with the people here, find their needs, find the resources that can help them, and then help get them the resources they require. So I think what you see us doing is we're the connective tissue to the people on the land. We're the connective tissue to the problems that they're having and with the local governance. And that's the initial mission that we were given. Now, once we got in on the land and we started identifying all the key players to enable FEMA to do what they need to do, then we started doing some things that we could do really well as the BLT. We have an entire complement of a combat engineer platoon, and then we were also given the Navy Seabees in TACON of us. And so what we would do is we'd combine them into a pretty potent force. The potent combination of Marine combat engineers and Navy Seabees together can do damn near anything. They're pretty amazing at being able to get in there, get with the people, and start to figure out how we can clear the roads, what our capabilities are. But go back to that human connection on the ground. I mean, we're here helping out Americans. And what we would find is we would need a certain piece of equipment that wasn't TO to neither the Seabees nor the Marines, but they could find somebody on the ground who could do that. They could get with the local municipalities and figure out if you have this one piece of equipment to lift this light pole up, to move this power line, we can help you with some of the muscle to do so. And so we find that's what they would do, is they would make that human connection with the folks from FEMA, with the local municipalities on the ground, and then together we would all move out and figure out what the most critical infrastructure is. So one of those critical infrastructures were the FAA radar towers and communication towers across the entire island. They're up at the top of a national rainforest, I believe the only national rainforest in the territories of the United States. And so getting up there was some hard slogging, mudslides and massive amounts of trees down. And so what the Seabees and the Marines did is they combined with the local municipalities and continued to clear all the way up there until they freed up all of that infrastructure so we can work on those generators and keep the radar towers running and keep the flow of supplies coming into Puerto Rico. So it's a small thing done up in the hills, of a rainforest that nobody sees every day, but it's the reason you can see all the air moving. And we're able to keep that going to help out the people of Puerto Rico. So it's those small things that not a lot of people see that are extremely important to helping out here in Puerto Rico. The next thing we would do is, the Marine Corps comes with a pretty good logistical understanding of how to move things in and around an island and just how to project power from the sea. So we use that expertise to help plan the distribution nodes here and around the island. And what we would do is we would get with the local populace and understand what their needs are, coordinate that through the Puerto Rican Emergency Association and allow them to tell us what are those needs. Then we would connect those needs with the resources from FEMA, who have so much power to bring a lot of big things in, all the help and all the aid from FEMA. And then we would work with a dual status commander who's in charge of the Title 10 forces for specific missions to help make that happen, to know where we needed to allocate trucks and resources to make those things happen. For example, there are two islands off of Puerto Rico, two smaller islands, one of them called Vieques, and they weren't receiving relief supplies, and we got that from the local people. So what we're able to do initially is start an air bridge, with our brothers over in the ACE to start moving supplies over. But then our job is to find local solutions. So there is an LCM-8 company, which is kind of these small little boats that were connectors in bigger ships back in the past, and we have them to start moving supplies. So we would get those supplies from the Prima facility to the local port, load it up on the LCMs, and the LCMs would go over and take care of Vieques. And that's a local solution now. All we did as the Marine Corps was identify the resources needed to do it, identify the units that were doing it, communicate between their higher headquarters to get them the orders, and now the Puerto Ricans are moving supplies themselves. So that's another type of thing that we do. Another emergent one that is important to our commander always is the lives of Americans, really in the lives of anybody here in Puerto Rico. So one of the top priorities for the commander of the Expeditionary Strike Group is saving lives, whether it be in the Virgin Islands, here on Puerto Rico, all together. That's our #1 priority. And so along with that, what we would do is we would go and assess local hospitals, make sure the local hospitals are up and running, having what they need, and being able to highlight those needs up to FEMA and to the dual status commander to get resources allocated from them. Whether that be the U.S. Army bringing in some of their teams to be able to help out, bringing in the USS Comfort to be able to help. We started to identify what those needs are, and then we're able to understand how we can help out. Now there are certain situations to where we can do things specifically. We can work on their generators with our CBs and our engineers. We can work on their communications equipment with our communicators. Or we can be an emergency fuel supply. All the hospitals, at least on Puerto Rico right now, are being ran off of generator power. So when those generators go out, there are people on life-saving support systems that if those generators go, they die. And so what we have is we have a fuel truck and a group of Marines who are ready on a strip alert anytime one of those generators is within critical of going down. We will launch our QRF out there. We will resupply that hospital with fuel and be able to keep lives, we are able to save lives in order to help out. Now what we do on the back end is we figure out, why did the system fail? Why did it need us? How can we help FEMA and Puerto Rico figure out a sustainable solution for that? And we've done that too, to where now that business is less and less on us, and it's more and more on FEMA, Prima, and the municipalities figuring out how to keep lives afloat. We don't want there to ever be a capability gap. We understand we're not in the lead. We're here to help, and we're here to help with some of those quick services that we have throughout. One of the things that sets us apart of the Marine Corps is our flexibility to come from the sea. We're not tied down by the land, because once you own something, it kind of owns you. You only have so much flexibility. But when we come from the sea, what we can do is we can back up, observe the problem, and figure out where is that critical node that needs us to move to. And then we can mass and focus on that critical node with all of our power from the sea. What also makes us very different is we live off the ship. The sea base provides us. We take no local resources to be here. No water, no food, no sustainability from the local people, because it all comes from the ship. And that's really important because we're not trying to pull anything away. But it's that flexibility to go back and mass on locations from the islands that makes us unique. The Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, this is, it's a naval domain. We can figure out wherever the problems are, we can move there and get those problems solved until the Army and the Air Force can backfill, get here, and build up a large Iron Mountain, and then we'll move to the next place. That's what we do best, is we go to the place that are austere and hard to get to initially. We can hold it down, make sure things are going well, and then turn it over to other Title 10 forces or other Title 32 forces that can better handle it. So I would say our ability to come from the sea allows us to see those advanced ports and those advanced airfields in order to get things moving and get it started and provide that life-sustaining capability up front and allow other forces to come in and maintain that after we leave. So one thing everybody in the DoD has signed up to do is to defend Americans from bad folks, right? It's what we're here for. I mean, we know we are the sword of the American people to be able to cut down our enemies should they ever get in the way of the American people. But it feels pretty good to be the shield of the American people. It feels pretty good to be right there helping them at a very connected level. And there's something special about that. There's something special about tying right in, shoulder to shoulder with another American to solve problems and to be able to give direct aid to the American people. We know this is not our mandate, but we are proud to be able to help, and we're proud to be able to be there for our National Guard brothers. It's not lost on me that the person who comes here to drive for the National Guard, his home may be destroyed. His family may be displaced. And what we keep telling them is, take care of your family for a few days. We'll hold the ground. We'll stand the watch until your family is safe, and then you can come and help out the rest of the people of Puerto Rico. And we think that's really important, is that they see us shoulder to shoulder doing those things. And that's what the Title 10 forces can do. We can stand the watch until the Title 32 forces, their families are safe, they're in a location where they can help us out, and then they'll take over. And we think that's what we're here for. And we think that's what's also, really special about helping out the American people, is it's other National Guard forces and the American people directly. The original
Puerto Rico has been fighting in American wars since World War I. Dr. Antonio Sanchez is the director of the VA hospital in Puerto Rico.
Immediately we started, prior to the heat of the storm, we started our contingency plan, our emergency management preparation. We lost power, we changed to the generator that worked with diesel, and since then we have been in diesel until last night that we were back to general.
Power was on, but water reserves were low.
Started to work with FEMA and other intergovernmental agencies to provide water in truck for our main reserve here.
The VA maintains the warrior ethos. No vet will be left behind.
They don't answer by phone. We have a crew of people in official cars searching their houses to assure, and we track them on daily basis.
We are isolated, and some of the resources from the mainland may take days. So our biggest challenge is to maintain a daily...
Mr. Cosme Torres is the emergency manager for the VA.
And be proactive to coordinate with FEMA and other agencies that are here to help us, and be able to continue serving our veterans and maintain an operational level of our institution.
The VA in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico serves 65,000 veterans with 1 million outpatient visits each year. For FEMA Public Affairs in Puerto Rico, I'm Paul McKellips.
Yesterday we had a group of Coast Guard members, specifically members of the CGIS office in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and also members of the Coast Guard that are deployed down in Puerto Rico, do a humanitarian mission down in Ponce, Puerto Rico. We went to the Sagrado Corazon elderly home, where they have about 80 residents that live there. We were there for about 3 or 4 hours, going up and down all the floors because the elevators were not working, delivering water and food door to door to every resident that lives there. Yesterday was my second day in Puerto Rico after being deployed to support the efforts for Hurricane Maria, and having the privilege of going back to my hometown and being a part of that team, it really means a lot to me. All my family lives down there. They were happy to see me, but they were even more proud of me for taking the time to help others in need. And that's what the Coast Guard is all about. Yesterday we